Hello. You are listening to the Carroll Connection with your host, Jared Carroll.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Carroll Connection. I'm your host, Jared Carroll, here to bring you guys another great episode. I did want to take a chance to shout out my last week's episode 241 with Drent. He's a trauma-informed rapper. And on that episode, he came on and talked about how he got into music, why he got into music, and sharing stuff that he's kind of learned through therapy through his music. And I thought it was like a really great episode. So if you want to check that episode out, go to thecarrollconnection.simplecast.com. Also available Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all the major listening platforms. If you'd like to watch your podcasts, go on YouTube and then search the Carroll Connection or at Jared M. Carroll. And if you want to be a guest or return as a guest, hit me up on Instagram at Jared M. Carroll or at the Carroll Connection. We'll set that up. As well as plugging the 5 Pillars of Creating Meaningful Life, only available on Amazon. And if you buy the book and you read it, submit the review. It goes a long way in the algorithm in supporting me. So that brings me to today's episode 242, bringing in the voice of PVD, Victor Baez.
How's it going, brother? Appreciate the invite.
Yeah, appreciate you actually getting back to me and coming on. Like I was like a little starstruck, like sending the message initially, and like I was kind of telling you that off podcast. And like I know that you're just like a regular guy and stuff, but like I definitely look up to you and like the sense of like what you do for the community and like podcasting and just being on social media, like seeing someone locally kind of just get after it and like really be successful. It's inspiring for someone like myself. So getting you on is awesome.
Thank you, brother. No, I'm just a regular guy from Providence, Rhode Island. That's all I am.
So for the people who might not know who you are, let them know who you are and what you're doing currently.
Yeah, so I'm Victor Baez. I run Club Ambition. Club Ambition is a podcast network, also a marketing agency, YouTube channel. We do a little bit of everything. We started 10 years ago with the former name, Complex Ambition, and we transitioned to Club Ambition. Still doing a bit of the same, but just on an elevated level, higher quality, more production. Everything's been pretty much reinvested. My family, they had me here. I was born here in Providence, Rhode Island, and I remember starting everything in high school. We were just some kids listening to music together. We would hang out my best friend Noel's house, kind of like in a living room. And we always say basement. I feel like whenever I get when I speak about this in interviews, I say basement, but I forget whose basement it was. But basically, like the stereotypical growing up as friends, listening to music together, and then we decided to basically put it on camera. Right? It was suggested, I believe, by Marloon, another best friend of mine, and then shout out to one of our close friends, Michael, who helped us with like a camera, borrowing like a fake GoPro, Chinese version of a GoPro, Chinese knockoff, and we put it on camera. I believe we were in Marloon's car. I want to say it might not be because I don't even know if Marloon was in the first video, or the second one, but there was a couple early on videos where we were just kind of experimenting, driving around, listening to music. Me, Eric, and Providence, Marloon, and it was something that grew a life of its own. We put it online, listening to music. People were like, "Well, we feel like we're you guys listening to music in our car. We feel like we're in the car with you." Artists actually started posting it and reposting it, like Travis Scott, TDE, Top Dog himself, like the man behind the record label. Early on, DJ Khaled, the biggest names in the industry would like post us. Chris Brown, The Weeknd on their story, and a lot of times it would be selective clips, not even like a compilation of reactors, and then where we happen to be in there. It'd be like, oh, they're watching us directly, tweeting at us. Like I remember I had Twitter interactions with Post Malone, Kim Kardashian, Nicki Minaj. So early on, safe to say, we were like, okay, what is going on? Like this is something that this is a life of its own. Like literally, we got to keep doing. Well, my mindset was we got to keep doing this. Some of the guys, they've had their moments of insecurities and difficulty with on camera or what comments would say. But with me early on, I'm like, no, this. I always felt like there was some sort of purpose within music in my life, and it happened to just be that. I became some sort of vessel, just giving an opinion, a reactor per se, reviewer, and I just kept at it till this day. I'll do reactions by myself. Any of the guys, if they're free to or want to join, and we can make the schedules work. But it still happens to this day, the reactions. And I've gotten known as the reactor guy, the Rhode Island guy, the podcast guy. I wear many hats, the father. So it's a bit of everything, but it really started as that. That's the essence of everything that we've cultivated to become today now. But that's the story right there, Club Ambition.
Yeah, and that's honestly amazing to hear. And just want to twist that mic and lower
Yeah.
it, like the bottom piece.
Oh, I got you.
It'll drop down.
I got you.
Yeah, live podcasting right here. I'm not gonna edit that out because I don't care.
Yeah, keep it raw.
Yeah, I just prefer it to be that way. It's just me doing the show, but I want to start from the beginning.
Yeah.
I want to start specifically with your family dynamic when the way you were growing up, and I always give the same like cliche for everyone that comes on the podcast when I talk about family dynamic, and why I bring up this topic is because I think it's important for people to kind of get that full picture of where you're coming from, and then also like everyone's family dynamic's different, and I think it paints a great picture for people to see that we all come from different walks of life, and
100%.
when we're able to share that, people can see that transition into, well, obviously how you launched a successful business and podcast and platform and where you come from. And I always use the same metaphor of like when you think about like building a house, like what's like the main piece? It's the foundation. And then when I think about our life story, I typically think for better or for worse, like our family is that foundation which our life kind of builds upon. So with that being said, could you go into what your family dynamic was like growing up?
Yeah, my family dynamic was thankfully a two-parent household, both my mother and my father. Um at least for the majority of my life, because I know early on my mother had me here in America, but then my father was in present. He was in DR, Dominican Republic, and then my mother eventually, I believe, I spent like a year or two back in DR, Dominican Republic, as a child. But then eventually, he came to America. She came back to America, and I grew up most of my life for sure here in America. And sometimes I feel like there was some spurts of like a couple months or something, even in New York, because my grandfather lived in New York City for a while, like in the Bronx area. But for uh for majority, it was all Providence, Rhode Island. Like I remember we moved into my aunt's house, Medi, which is on my father's side, his cousin, and we lived there like a jointed family. Almost felt like a just crazy episode of like Modern Family or damn, what's that show that used to have all those the people together that were kind of like adopted? It was a big show. Had Jeremy White in it. Or Jeremy Allen White, the actor from The Bear. Good ass show.
Shameless.
Shameless,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
I almost felt like an episode of Shameless sometimes because it was just crazy and loud and just wild, rambunctious babies. And my aunt was like a daycare, basically at home daycare, so she'll take care of babies. It was just wild, but I loved it. Still love them to this day. Thank them. My family's very grateful for them for giving us that space to stay. Because a lot of things, it's stereotypical, like in the Dominican Republic, when you're immigrants coming to America, family will promise you, like, oh, you can stay there when you get there. But it doesn't happen. Like they don't commit to that shit at all. It's like they fall out or like ghost you. But my aunt committed to it, and my dad to this day is always very grateful for her for doing that because Lord knows where we could have been or what would have happened to us. But yeah, we grew up. I grew up in Providence, Rhode Island. They raised me here. I went to Robert O. Bailey off of Broad Street because we lived right near Broad Street, south side of Providence, and I went to that school, Robert O. Bailey Elementary, and then thankfully I got into the gifted program they called it at Nathaniel Green at the time, which was almost like an advanced course for people who just had good grades. And I got accepted into that, did good in that, and then took the classical high school test and got accepted into classical. So this was something that the family dynamic was always thankfully like a stereotypical what one would wish for, two parents at home, you know father worked a lot, but present father, present mother, had a younger sister eventually. Shout out to her, she's currently helping me with the business and everything that we do now, like filming and just being an assistant. So I'm always grateful for that because when I interact with people, it's way more common that that's not the case. All my friends have divorced parents, uh, or they have unfortunately just of a parent that's not around, right? They're like single family households. So I feel like that's definitely helped me kind of become who I am for sure. Because just in comparison, I'm able to look at things differently, right? My friends that don't have parents or don't have both parents at home, they struggle with relationships. They're not in relationships, they struggle dating, etc. I saw love, long-term love to this day with my parents. They're both on vacation together by themselves right now in Dominican Republic, like for the past month. So with me, I always looked at things like that. Like they committed to this, they're committed to the family. So it made me look at life like that. Like when you do things, you start something, you got to finish it. You got to see it at least all the way through until you can't no more. So I did that with relationships to this day. Proposed to my girl last year, getting married hopefully next year or the year after. We'll see. People last engaged for. I saw like the record was somewhere like in a couple decades. I'm not going that long, but it's it's more common than people realize. I thought you got to get married right away,
Yeah,
but
nah,
it's no,
nah.
it's not.
I'm in
That's
the
not.
same boat. Like we're
So you're
even
engaged right now?
yeah engaged right now. We got engaged in October, and like
Okay, okay, yeah, yeah,
everything is like you have to plan so far out
yeah,
that
yeah, yeah, yeah.
stuff, and like I mean, we're pretty laid back people, and we're even looking at like elopement type stuff, like doing stuff
Yeah,
because
okay,
like
okay, nice.
I mean, this is maybe my hot take on that. Like it's just for us, it's just gonna be purely about us, like our
Yeah, yeah,
relationship, and like a lot of it's cost too, like the cost of like having
yes,
a wedding, and like as soon as you slap wedding on everything, like photographer, like the food, the prices go crazy,
yeah,
and
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like it's gotten to the point where it's just like if I ever want to like buy homes and do this stuff and raise children, like this, like why, like I'm gonna put myself in debt to have a party for
Yeah,
other
no,
people. Like
that'd be
I don't know,
heavy.
teach their own,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like we're on the fence about like how we're gonna navigate this. But like because like
Mm-hmm.
home ownership and raising family right now is like pretty like high on our priority list, and like we're kind of teasing the water.
No, hundred
Definitely getting
percent.
pressure from family. I mean that never
Oh
stops.
no, yeah, yeah. Listen, if no pressure so far on mine, but if they start pressuring me, I'm like, well, you guys gonna pay for it? But at the same time, thankfully, I feel like I'm grateful to be, for example, like when I posted like the video, I made a video of like the proposal, and I posted it and went viral, and I got a lot of DMs from like local venues, like, hey, just have your wedding here, we'll cover the costs, etc. So I'm like, okay, so at least we might have that covered when the time comes around. Because they obviously see it as like a marketing opportunity because they know I'm gonna probably film it and shout them out, etc. Which I don't mind. Is like I would love to do that exchange services. That'd be awesome. But on my end is just just making sure it makes sense timing wise because we definitely want both families to be there. She's Cambodian, I'm Dominican, and both of those cultures have like the biggest families. I feel like in the Caribbean and Spanish community, Dominicans, I feel like have the biggest just like amount of cousins on top of cousins, and then in the Asian community, I feel like Cambodians are that way, cousins on top of cousins, and both of them might be the most alcoholic of both of their cultures. So that doesn't help either. So you gotta have a lot of alcohol. So it's just insane. But seeing that my family dynamic, I feel like it's made me want to be that way in my family. Still getting better with time. Everything. I feel like you can't. It's no sense. No perfection is impossible. But I definitely fundamental the foundation of everything that I feel like I place it upon. I got it from thankfully my household and my parents and seeing everything how they were.
And I appreciate you opening up and sharing that too, because it's always whatever people are comfortable with and going into that, because obviously it's personal to you.
Yeah, yeah,
But like I really resonate with that because I had both my parents growing up. Like my dad played an active role in coaching us in sports. I played football like my whole life, and
yeah,
having him there, and like my mom was always making the lunches, bringing us to practice when my dad was at work, and then my dad would show up from work at the practices, and like having active parents in my life
hmm,
definitely has changed my perspective as I've grown up because as you said, I also have tons of friends and people around me that it wasn't like that for them.
oh yeah,
So seeing that difference, especially even doing the podcast too, like everyone's dynamic is completely different. And it just like makes me appreciate my parents a lot more because there's also a ton of opportunities that I've gotten as a person because of the things that they've done in their life. And I didn't always see that growing up. I mean, I think we all go through stages where we butt heads with our parents growing up. I think it's part of just like growing up. But as I've gotten older, like I really admire them for the sacrifices that they made to raise us. I have three brothers and we fought like hell. Like we definitely we caused some problems and like
yeah, yeah,
having them kind of give everything to us and give us those opportunities, and we've all made stuff out of that. And I think hearing that perspective is always so valuable, especially when we're starting a podcast and learning about who you are. And it's not so much of like getting you on here and just talking about the business. Like, I want to know who Victor is, and
Yeah,
like this is
definitely.
like the whole the point of at least the platform is like getting to know the person and sharing that with the audience. So
Yeah,
like
yeah.
kind of building on this, looking at like childhood, like did you have any like sports or hobbies or things that you kind of did to like socialize with other kids?
I mean, I definitely it's kind of like a bit of everything I do today in a sense. I loved playing video games, but that kind of slowly died down. Like I'll buy games and I'll like partake in conversations about it, and I know kind of everything surrounding the topic or the news of it. But like for example, like I bought the new James Bond video game like right when it dropped because I'm like, oh, I see all this hype about it, and I think I'm still on level 2 or 1 or halfway through 1. It's like I don't have time, you know. But I don't mind. Like I don't need to like kind of like battle with anybody or beat anybody to it. I'll get to it when I get to it on my own time. But that was something I would do a lot young. And I've kind of disconnected from as much.
Did you have a specific game that you liked playing when you were younger?
I mean, I always had like, to be honest, I was able to hustle and like get even if it was borrowed, but I always try to get every single console, even if it was like a used version off of Craigslist at the time when Craigslist was like big. You know, I probably had like 5 different, Xbox 360s with, like, Red Ring. Like, we went through the Red Ring era. If you were a video gamer back then during the 360, you know what I'm talking about, that Red Ring of death. I went through that a bunch of times, modded Xboxes that would crash. So but I had everything. Like, I had the Nintendo DS, you know, everything. My favorite always probably was probably Grand Theft Auto. Like I'll probably spend the most time on Grand Theft Auto or like Saints Row, kind of like
Oh
those
yeah.
games where like world building. On Nintendo 64, I played a lot like Zelda, like anything that was exploring and world building and just kind of interactive. That perspective, whatever that I think is RPG or whatever the type
Yeah,
of game
yeah,
is
it
called,
is.
RPG. So those type of games I liked more than anything else. If it got too competitive, you know, I'll partake. I played Call of Duty, but if it got too competitive, I'm like, nah. Like, and I never like the scary games like Silent Hill or nothing. I'm like, this is too much for me. Like, I'm gonna start screaming and scare myself to sleep. Let's not do that. Let's not have nightmares. You know, let's not intentionally scare ourselves here. But looking back, I guess I did miss out because I guess those video games are pretty awesome. Like, especially like Last of Us and stuff. I'm now trying to get back into those because, you know, they were pretty awesome. But aside from that, I would play with my friends like outside. I always had dreams growing up to like be in the NBA because I loved watching it. To this day, like I love watching sports and specifically basketball. But yeah, easily and quickly learned that sports were just not my forte. Like I didn't have the best luck. Like I played little league baseball, and my dad tried to get me a little bit into baseball. Didn't work. Like I remember being in the little league, and I played decent, but then I would get hit. I remember I got hit one time, like on first base, trying to catch a ball. I looked the wrong way, and then the ball hit my face. They threw it at me to catch, and I moved the glove. And I'm like, yeah, that hurt too much. I'm not doing this shit. Like, this is not for me. This is not for me. Never looked back. Then with basketball, I tried out at classical high school. I did like tryouts. I'm gonna do the tryouts, see. And then they wanted us to do like a 10-minute or 20-minute plank. 1 minute in, I'm like, yeah, this is not for me. Let me get out of here. Let me walk out of here. It was just too much. It was so hyper intense. But obviously, that's what it takes to be great on that level. I just liked it a lot. It was fun. So I'm like, oh, maybe I could do it. I tried out soccer, and in soccer, actually, the coach was like, "You're really good. Get on. You should try out for the team. Oh, you know, I think you could get on the team. I can maybe get you on the team." But then I'm like, oh, I don't want to be a soccer player. I didn't watch soccer. I didn't really know nothing about soccer at the time. I'm like, nah, I'm good. And I always joke about like, man, it could be a world where like me in another universe, I'm like an ultimate like soccer star. Maybe I'm in the World Cup with Messi or some shit. I think it's possible because the coach was actually really impressed, and I would always play good during like random exhibitions during like gym and stuff. And he was like, "Wow, you're really good. Like you gotta really do it." And he would try to push me to do it. I'm like, "No, I think it was Mr. Cafferty. I think it was the coach. I forgot the name of the coach. I think it was Mr. Cafferty." But it was like, "Oh, it's too much, bro. I don't know. I don't want to do it." Um, but that was like basically what I would do. Video games, watch TV a lot. a lot of movies, DVDs at the time, renting movies from like Hollywood rental or Redbox, early Netflix when they would ship it to you. I was partaking in that and like paying that subscription whenever my dad wanted to do it. Um, we would watch movies together as a family, rent movies and watch it together as a family. In the morning before school, I watched like MTV, whether it was like Robin Big reruns, or MTV Jams, or Hot 106 in Park early on. So I was always just consuming culture, whether it's video games, movies, everything, just consuming culture, sports. So for me to transition what I am now, I feel like that's what made sense to now be someone that has an opinion on culture because it's become my job now. And at the same time, I'm able to still do what I did as a kid, which is just partake in consuming the culture, and having my moments of creating cultural things, whether even if it's locally, it's still extremely impactful. So that's very fulfilling and I love that. But you know, not necessarily what I thought I was gonna be. Like I said, I thought I was gonna be an NBA and that stuff, but uh it's fine, 'cause especially looking back, I'm like, damn, these guys work fucking hard. Like that's a lot of work. That's a lot of work. So I would have never been able to be that, no.
Nah, I definitely relate, and I mean, I had dreams of as a kid going to the NFL and playing football, and I was like, kind of looked in the mirror one day. I was like, yeah, I'm not getting much bigger than this. I don't think it's gonna. I don't think I'm gonna make it, Dad. Like, it's not gonna happen. But I think he also knew that. But it was about the life lessons and stuff
Hmm.
like that. There's so much like about me that I get from the game of football and the
Yeah,
coaches
yeah.
that I've had, and like we had like a Seaconk, a former Patriots player, is Vernon Crawford, who came in like my junior year and like changed the way that I like looked at football. Like we weren't very good and we didn't have a lot of buy-in from the guys just because like went from like a classic like small town football offense to like spread it out like
Yeah, yeah.
college and like NFL style, and people just weren't buying into it at the time, and we had a crazy class of like athletes, but people just didn't want to buy in. They just wanted to wear the jerseys type thing.
Hmm.
And the stuff that we went through a lot of games where we would just lose. And like our senior year, we kind of lost our way into the playoffs, so, like because we had the type of talent. But like our coach would always talk about like looking ourselves in the mirror, like it's not about the game, but like what kind of man you want to be, like taking stuff more seriously, like doing things for others, like leadership skills. Like I was placed as like a captain my senior year of like trying to help some of these guys, and like it definitely changed the way I look at stuff because some people are just not going to like you. Some people are
Hmm.
not going to buy into your message. Some people just don't want to take it seriously, and some people just want to play the game. So
Yeah.
like trying to figure out all those personalities has helped later in life too, where it's cultivating relationships, whether it's doing a podcast or in
Hmm.
like the work environment, like just in real life, like sports translates. And I think it's part of the reason I like talking about it is like there's different hobbies and stuff that people have that can teach these skills.
Hmm.
And I think it's just cool to see where people get these different pieces from. And I totally relate on the gaming, and trying to find time these days is just so tough. I mean, I was a sports gamer. I've always loved like 2K and Madden. Like as a kid, I got like Madden every single year, even though it was the same game every
Yeah,
fucking
I
year.
love
It's
Madden.
like so. I mean, don't get me started on 2K. I'll just trash Ronnie 2K, and the way that they treat that game and that new trailer is so ass. Like, it's just the same game and microtransactions, and just it's like everything else in life. But
Yeah, yeah.
I want to build on this and go more towards like senior year of high school. Like you're getting ready to graduate, you're looking at the options. Like they talk about college, trades. Like what kind of stuff are you looking at, and like what kind of path do you ultimately go on?
Yeah, I mean, senior year for me definitely was the most pivotal year of my life before having children because I felt like I almost damn near died that year because it was just like a lot of pressure that I was dealing with. So at that time, I went through a breakup with my ex girlfriend who I was with probably for like 3 years, but it felt like four or three going on four, that I met early on in high school. And in my mind, I was like, this is gonna be, my wife. This we're gonna go for life with this. That's how it felt at the time. But then, deeply in love. But then I got hit by like a ton of bricks. It felt like because she just one day decided to like break up with me, like literally just have a conversation in the car. And it was a day after we weren't necessarily arguing. We were fine. Matter of fact, we literally had, and I remember emphasizing that at the time. I'm like, how the fuck? Why is this so crazy? Like, we had sex like the day before. And to me, it was like, it was good sex. Like, it was fine. We were, it felt like it didn't feel like, oh, something was off. The connection was fine. But then in general, I think of that it was so long ago. So now, so I know I get shit wrong or fuzzy when I think about it because I don't really, I've kind of like erased this part of my life from my mind because it was just so traumatizing. But it was a moment where she felt a certain way. She wanted to make a decision, and I was so dead set on like why, like okay, you want to leave this relationship, but what's going on? You know, I thought we were good, everything was fine. There hasn't been any recent crazy like moments or like a red flag per se that I couldn't, or if there was, I just didn't catch it. And after that, you know, she literally disconnected from me completely. Like she blocked me, deleted everything. It was as if to this day, like I didn't never existed to her. And she's never been a social media person, so this day, so this day, she's like never existed. It's obviously like she deleted herself from my life completely. It was like what the hell, but it was a blessing, 100% a big blessing at the time. That I just didn't realize until like later on. But I remember trying to fight for the relationship and still be together. And my mindset was like, you know, we're about to go into college. I was already with her in high school. I'm like, aren't we gonna go to college together? Aren't we gonna? I can't do this alone. Like we're supposed to do this together. And she was like, I don't even want to go to college. And I'm like, what? So I'm like, yo, she wants to leave the relationship, doesn't want to be in college. What is happening? I helped her get a car at that time. I helped her get her a job at that time. I'm like, I'm trying to lift her up, but she's trying to tear herself down. What is going on? Long story short, it just ended up really being like she was damn near cheating on me. Like using my phone to like message a guy that she was working with. And it was just a lot of random just things I kind of found out after. And even at the time I felt like I was doing things that probably were embarrassing myself, but I just didn't mind. I thought like, you know, writing a letter, leaving it at her car, trying to find where she's at, like the stereotypical like try to fight for your
Been there,
girl
been
or
there.
try to fight for love, like the toxic crazy shit, like just trying to, you know, where are you? Just trying to reach out to family to find her, texting her brother, like just going through the craziest, just wild moments to fight for what you thought was the love of your life and the future, right? What's going on? But then when I started slowly finding out what I knew then and know now, like oh, there's another guy and this and that. I'm like, yeah, I'm like this is ridiculous. But bro, there was moments where I was literally sleep. I couldn't even sleep alone. Like I was so like sad and just going through it. I remember just like telling my mom like I was sleeping in bed with her. I felt like a kid again. Like I'm someone that's transitioning from high school to college, but this heartbreak, it was the thing that made me realize why people sing and write songs about love and make movies about love and heartbreak and all this stuff for going through that because I'm like damn, this is what this feels like. It felt like literally like someone just took the air out of your stomach, but like every single day you wake up feeling that way and I'm like wow, deflated completely. But it made me who I am today where I realized okay, you got to really first of all, put yourself first, love yourself, prioritize yourself. And on top of that, you can't necessarily think about things as what's the best way to put it? It's kind of like things have to happen in order for something else to happen. I feel like life is like a chain of events. So that was so traumatic and crazy, but it happened for a reason. And I feel like it happened for the reason I am now. Like, look at me now. I have a family. I have beautiful two children. I have the love of my life, who I'm gonna marry. And coincidentally, which was crazy at the time, it's my ex's cousin. So that's where like it gets into like I always watch all these reality shows and stuff, but when I really think about it and look back, I'm like, damn, my life low key could be like a hit season on like Love and Hip Hop or some shit if we were to put cameras on it back then. But they weren't close cousins per se. But I remember her just being at like some family function and then me posting, you know, I'm going through heartbreak. I think I was playing like A Boogie, Don't Trust Bitches, DTB, I don't trust bitches, like a selfie video on like Snapchat. And then with like a black and white filter with the rain, very dramatic, like sad boy vibes. And then she responded, you know, her cousin. She's like, what's happening? What's going on with you? This and that. Checking in on me. I'm like, oh, what's up? And then she was going through the breakup at the same time. And I'm like, oh, here we are. It went naturally into best friends, hanging out, doing random shit, going to Target, watching I think Doctor Strange at the time in the movie theaters together, sharing, making playlists for her. I think I burned a CD for her or something. Finding out we liked the similar artists, and the connection just kept building, and then eventually we were like, oh, let's make this a relationship. Some of the family at first was like, that's weird. Why would you do that? Or is this in spite, etc. But then I feel like everybody just started slowly realizing, like, no, these guys, they're naturally in love. And I don't want to shit on my ex or whatever, but it just felt like her family themselves also weren't necessarily in agreement with the decision that she made. And they were very supportive of me still. They didn't had nothing against me to this day. Like, there's still a lot of love for me from that side. But it was wild, man. It definitely was like something straight out of like a telenovela, like dramatic and wild and nuts. But it wasn't nothing out of spite. It was meant to be, because I felt like I said, if I didn't met her, or if I never met her, went through that moment, I wouldn't have met her cousin, which ended up being now, you know, the mother to my children. Like, that's something that I'll never take back. But I look back at it like, damn, I had to go through that in order to get here. So everything has a purpose. When people say like that, it's very cliche, but it's true. Like, life will give you crazy lessons that you just got to go through in order to get through another door. Like, literally, you go through one door in order to get into another door, because life's full of doors, and you just got to keep opening them up. But I love that though. It was crazy. And then at the same time, right, going back to like that year, it was wild because I went through that breakup, and at the same time, I'm still doing like the YouTube channel, transitioning to like, how are we gonna still do this in college? You know, everyone has different like decisions, so this is gonna go different. We're gonna go different about this. How are we gonna do it? What's gonna happen? And it was just a lot of stress and just dealing with that. It felt like impossible to do. And then going through school, first year of senior year, no, first year of college, freshman year of college, was just like hell to me. I'm like, I don't even want to, didn't want to do it. I didn't want to be there. I feel like I was, I went to college of business, so everything I was doing already was what I was kind of learning, like marketing or like just random stuff that I felt was random. Looking back, I wish obviously my mind was clearer in order to like take things in and network with people, because Lord knows where I could have been today, even bigger. But again, I just was in it. Like, I wanted to drop out and everything. My family's like, no, you can't drop out. You got to do this. So I'm like, all right, I'll do this. But I was in it to get the degree. Let's see this through. Started it. Let's go see this through. Let's make this happen. And I did it. And I did it. But that led to like 1 year. I think it was like either sophomore or junior year, where where it was a lot of just stress, and even like it was just so stressful. Like, going through things like the channel, like different differences on the channel, and like trying to do different type of content, and editing. Like, to this day, I edit everything myself, but the editing at that time was like with the cheapest, just free software. So I would like spend overnight, and then the laptop would overheat, so I barely would sleep. So I was losing sleep. I didn't have any. To this day, I really don't sleep as much as I should. But back then, definitely for sure, I had like no sleep. So my body just kind of gave up. There was one point where like I had like they call it, I think, Bell's palsy.
Mhm.
Like, when my left side of my face, like, I kind of got numb, and my mom thought I was about to have a stroke, and it was just a scary time where I kind of reset. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing, but I gotta relax. Like, let me take a break. Let me calm down. And yeah, no, that shit was crazy. But my partner, my girl, she was able to help me, and then just my family at the time through all that. But yeah, it was crazy. I felt like I was gonna die. I'm telling you, like, I remember that even my car engine, I drove like a Volvo SUV to school because I was commuting to save money to URI every day. So I go from Providence to North Kingston, like every day. Sometimes the drive would be longer than the class because you had to attend class in order to get sometimes even the grade, because they took attendance into account. Some sort of some professors, because they were very anal about it. It's like, I get it, okay, because some kids wouldn't show up, but then it's like, I'm the commuter. But they don't give you no like, oh, he's the commuter, he's special. They don't care. They don't give a fuck. There's like, you're the same as everybody else. So the drive will be longer than the class. But then even, driving so much, the engine literally blew up one time on the highway. Like, just popped open, and the gasket. I'm like, oh my God. But it was a part of the process. You have to kind of just go through that in order to get to the other side. Because if you're driving the car like crazy, the car, just like life, you're gonna hit some sort of roadblock, and the engine gave out. So that was almost like a life lesson for me at the time. I'm looking at it like, okay, well, you drive this car every freaking day, like every morning for so long, and you don't really take care of it. You don't got time to take care of it. This is gonna happen. This is bound to happen. It was giving out a little bit. It was bound to happen, but it was just so much. I just remember that a couple years, like going through college, literally like the hardest the hardest part was just stuff happening around me, not necessarily even just the courses or whatever. Because I had the mindset of like, okay, I'm gonna pass these classes, get a C, whatever I had to get just to qualify, just to graduate. I'm not trying to impress nobody, impress no professor, nothing. I just want to make my parents proud, become the first generation graduate, do that, and then anything else in life happens, I got a degree. Like it can help me in some aspect. So that's what it was.
I
Yeah.
actually really resonate with like so much of that because like pretty much right out of high school is how in this like difficult relationship basically. It's kind
Yeah.
of similar stuff and like trying to do all the stuff to try to keep her, break up and see my camera like doing its thing, but
Yeah.
we broke up in Mexico on a vacation and like it
Oh,
was like this
wow.
whole thing and it was like the first like negative relationship experience I really had, like going through a breakup and
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it changed my life completely, like the trajectory that I was on and like how I felt about myself. It took me years to like really pull myself out of that and like kind of figure out who I am and like
Hmm.
what I actually want to be. And then like going to college and living on campus for a little bit, had a bad experience with a roommate that I actually went to high school with. It just didn't work out. It was one of those scenarios
Oh,
where
wow.
like I literally had to like tape like we had like a cord for cable up to the TV,
Hmm.
and I taped it down. Was like, "That's your side. This is my side."
Damn.
And like
Shit got
he
real.
was a good guy. I to this day I don't know where he is. Doesn't have social media. Don't see any pictures. Like I actually like am curious to know what happened, but like would have mounds of laundry everywhere and like would not go to
Oh,
class, would not sleep, and
I can't handle that.
like constantly like doing stuff like in the nightlife and just like hanging out and partying and it was tough to see that as someone like I grew up with, played all sports with, played baseball with, played football with, like was always a great kid and just didn't care. And like I had that experience while living there and then I was like, I'm not fucking living here. Like I don't want to
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah. No.
I go commute and like I tried to like it was like my fall semester we lived together. I tried to leave that spring semester, like, nah, you paid for a year. I'm like, fuck it. I just would
Yeah.
commute on the weekends and because I just didn't want to be there. And it took me years to just like figure out my process and like just I'm like, I gotta get the degree, just gotta get the degree, and like didn't really care about much of the other stuff. And then I was telling you off podcast how I got into a work program and I went to
Mhm.
Texas and then Georgia and that changed my whole life. Like and it all stemmed from a really bad breakup and like
Mhm.
spiraling over years trying to figure out who I am. And I it took me a really long time, not until like 2019 where I really kind of pulled myself out of that
Yeah.
and separated myself from alcohol and family and friends and was in a different environment where I was like, what am I doing here? Like what's my purpose? And like
Hmm.
it sucks that it took all that time to like get to the point to create a podcast and then eventually write a book and all that stuff. But you need those moments to really define you as a person because if you don't have the bad stuff, like you're never going to understand or appreciate the good stuff that can happen from those bad things.
100%.
And that changed me and I'm like appreciative to that because like I don't know if we're doing a podcast or any of my guests that I've ever met on this platform. Like
Hmm.
I don't know if I create those relationships or feel confident in myself to like do this on social media without feeling bad about myself. Like
Yeah.
being like, am I like a worthy partner? Is this gonna work for me? Am I gonna be single the rest of my life? Like those bad breakup experiences, like corny and cliche as they are, lead into something that was positive. And I think
Hell yeah.
not like you need to go through it, but like I think people need to go through like the bad stuff. And like I always like say like does I mean even like one of the pillars in my book. So there's like you think they'd be all like positive, but the last one, like, spoiler, is kind of like a bad one.
Hmm.
But it's to remind you that life's got like ebbs and flows, like it's gonna be bad. And like
100%.
my cliche that I always use is like I'm a big hiker, I like going to New Hampshire, Maine, Vermont hiking.
Nice. Nice.
And life's like a hike. Like you're gonna start getting the parking lot, you're kind of excited, you're starting early, and then you're getting up there, you're kind of like, all right, this kind of fucking sucks. Like, why do I
Mm-hmm.
do this? And then you're having your breaks, your moments of chatting, and like it's fun. And then there's moments where you're not talking to each other. But then you get to that peak and you look out and you realize how amazing it is.
Yeah.
But then you also see that there's tons of other mountains to climb.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just one mountain that you climb. And I compare life to that. Life's just a bunch of hikes and a bunch of
No,
mountains that
it's a climb.
we continue
That's beautiful.
we climb that. And I think it's important to remember that as we go through life, because like those downs are gonna suck, but you're gonna climb another mountain. There's gonna be another high for you. And like we need that as humans. I think if life was just always good and like everything great and happy, like we wouldn't appreciate all that shit.
No, it's
So like
true. We need that.
yeah, and
It really
it's
makes
figuring that.
us.
But I want to kind of start pivoting into how the business really started to explode. Because like you're
Yeah.
talking about, you're kind of working through it through college. It's coming up. What kind of sets it off? I know we kind of talked a little bit in the beginning, but what kind of sets it off with like the reactions and the music, and then how do you start pivoting towards creating like the podcast and the brand itself?
Yeah, so the reactions and the music, that was something natural where it was again just like friends doing what they do, putting it on camera, and then the world loving it. But then I took the moment like, okay, that was without trying to necessarily emulate or copy anything or base it off of anything, just do our own thing. Because to this day, like we were like the first reactors doing reactions like in a car, consistently in a car every single week in a car. So we were known as like the car reactor guys. To this day, we still do them in a car. And sometimes people are like, oh, I remember when you back in the car. Now you're in the studio. It's like there's nothing wrong with that. Like I still do reactions in the car. Like it was an aesthetic. It wasn't like we wanted a studio. If we did a reaction in the studio, everyone's doing reactions in the studio. But if you're doing reactions in a car, then you stand out. You're the people that do reactions in a car. Just like anything else in life. If someone did a freaking podcast tomorrow on a toilet, they probably will blow up. Like that's the guy that does a podcast while he's taking a shit every week. Because it's like it stands out. It's different. So I knew that early on. Like what we're doing, people are liking it. Let's stay keeping doing what we're doing because it's different. We didn't intentionally try to be different, but once you realize it's different, I'm like, oh, let's just keep this how it is. Because us being ourselves, doing what we can afford, which is just being in a car, putting a camera on, no mics, just putting a camera mic on, it was working. Without us trying to make it necessarily work, it started by standard definition work. Like it got views, it got traction, we grew followers, subscribers, people would recognize us, and it was like a thing. Like I remember going randomly to like Florida on vacation during like the first year doing the podcast, no, the YouTube channel, the reactions, and I was in line for like a water park, and I got recognized, and the guy was like spazzing, going crazy like a grown ass man. I'm like, bro, calm down, what's going on? Like I got nervous, and he's like, yo, I watch you all the time, I listen to your reactions, oh my god. And he was like a grown man with like a whole family, and he wanted to take a photo, and I'm like, oh, this is something else. Like I didn't plan for this, but now it's like out of state. Like people are recognizing us, and that was just me being naive. Because back then, especially when you look at the numbers, like hundreds of thousands of views on YouTube, that's crazy. Like people is gotten even harder nowadays to get to those numbers, but we were getting those from reactions, and I'm like, damn, like that's why it would translate. Because now you're on the internet where the whole world sees you. Especially once you do things that are tied to artists. Some people might watch your reactions if they're Kid Cudi fans, but they only watch the Kid Cudi videos because they're Kid Cudi fans. So you tap into different fan bases too. So we were able to do that without realizing it. Like looking back on it, that's what we were doing this whole time. So then as I started reflecting more, I'm like, especially going back to that moment of heartbreak with my ex, going through that, something that got me through it a lot was podcast. I would listen to Joe Rogan. I remember the Joe Rogan, like David Goggins episode, like changed my life. Like, oh my God, this guy, what's going on? It was like the first episodes I've watched of Joe Rogan fully. I'm like, okay, this is actually really good content, inspirational guest. But then I would listen to like the Joe Budden podcast back then when he spazzed on Drake and it went viral. I'm like, oh, I like his music as a rapper. Oh, he has a podcast. Let me check it out. And to this day, especially the Joe Budden podcast, I listen to it like religiously, like every episode, everything he does, like I'll just listen to it. And even if I disagree with certain things he says or does, which is a majority of it, it's kind of just become like a therapeutic thing. Like it helped me get through that time back then, and it just helps me in life now, kind of ease things, like just listening to people talk. And I wanted to kind of build that for myself and for others with what I already had. So we did reactions. Now let's do a podcast where we can react to music, but not first reactions. Now it's like in depth conversations, review it, talk deeper about the music because people always wanted that. They want longer conversations. So it was like follow ups to the reactions. So that's how we started it off. Then eventually, the podcast, we were like, maybe let's get some guests, so we would play into that. But really, it's really started how it is now, where it's topical, just talking about things. And even starting the podcast, in my mind, I'm like, let's aim for the stars. Let's get a studio. Let's do it all. Because again, if we're gonna do this, let's see it through. We don't gotta be in the car. We do that with the reactions. Let's do a podcast studio, do a podcast, and look up everything that we need for the podcast. So I did my due diligence, looked everything up, what needs to be bought, what needs to be purchased, invested into it, used money that was being made at the time from the YouTube channel, from the reactions, which wasn't much, probably like 10 grand collectively throughout all those years, but it was still something because, you know, we never touched it. It was just like, oh, we weren't doing it for the money, and a lot of our videos would get blocked and demonetized. But I'm like, okay, there's enough here that worst case scenario, we can pay off rent at the studio for like a year, and then if the podcast and everything else falls through, we don't get nothing. We try it out for a year, and we'll move out. That's what me and like Eric were talking about. Like, okay, we have enough here for like a year of rent here, and like we can make it kind of work. And now we're going on what, like the fifth year, like a fifth year doing the podcast. So still in the same space, just kind of made improvements on the studio with equipment and angling and lighting, always changing things up. But it was something that I'm definitely proud of because I saw it through. I saw it through, and it started resonating with people online. We'll get people in the industry to this day, like, we won't have the craziest, like we don't get hundreds of thousands of views like a Joe Budden or people kind of in the same space get. Like obviously Joe Rogan, he gets hundreds of thousands, but like in the millions as far as listens goes. But we get solid thousands of people every single week listening and watching us from across the world. Like people in South Africa, people in Spain, all everywhere, and a lot of people locally. So that was something where I'm like, damn, it's not necessarily the view count. You never know who's watching. You never know who's watching. Well, I have people like Metro Boomin, like these celebrities will connect with us and be like, yo, they watch and they tune in and they check things out. So I'm like, oh damn, they care about our opinion. They care about the content that we're putting out there. Let's keep it going. Like let's keep it going. So realizing that early on, I kept it going. It transitioned and started changing because, for example, like my best friend, which we started the reaction channel together, it was me, Marlon, and Eric. But then Eric went to do theater acting and Yale, and he just graduated from that. But it was before Yale. He wanted to do that, but he was doing like GAM theater acting and practicing and just doing the full on theater 101, going through all the steps and process that you would to be, successful in that, you know, actual industry, especially if you love it, like how he does. He really loves it. So he was like, I can't do the podcast no more. And I can't even be on, I don't want to be, I can't be on the channel because I don't have time. I'm not gonna be having, I have to dedicate my life to this. So the way that he handled it, I didn't like because it was very abrupt. It wasn't like, oh, I'm thinking about this. I've been thinking about this. What he didn't even want my take on it. He didn't even really want like my help to plan it out. Like, how are we gonna phase this out? It was just abrupt. And that was a moment where it felt extremely frustrating. I'm like, what the hell? And he was kind of talking to people behind my back, like talking to other friends and other people around, but not me about how he was feeling and how he wanted to change things in his life. So I'm like, damn, okay. Kind of similar to my ex again, where it's like people, they're in your life, right? They're doing something with you, committed, life changing, years at it. But then at the end of the day, you have to really focus more on yourself. And it really made me very like strong minded just individually before everything else. To this day, very thick skin because you can't expect somebody else to necessarily live the way that you live and think the way that you think. 100%. It's impossible. It's really impossible. You can try to, share it and, have things in common, but not everybody is built the same way. Therefore, if someone has a dream they want to pursue or something, who am I to look down upon that dream? And to this day, like he has my full support, always has. Still I still consider him my best friend. I love him to death like a brother, but it was something that was so crazy to me because the way that was just handled, it was so abrupt. Like I'd rather it be like talk with me about it, and I remember like arguing with him about it, spazzing on it. It was a crazy moment in the studio. If that shit was on camera, that would have definitely been viral, like sensational, whatever. Um, it would have been like the start of like a if we do ever have a documentary, that would be like a starting scene in the documentary. The way I was just spazzing at him in the studio, it was crazy. But it was frustrating because I really felt like almost like a sense of distrust too, where it's like, aren't we friends? Like, why not? Why didn't you talk to me? But it was kind of, for lack of better terms, just I guess he felt like a sense of intimidation with me, and kind of scared to tell me. But I feel like it just could have phased out better, and it changed a lot of shit because the channel was known as, especially the reactions was me and him because Marlon would partake, but he'll, wasn't in as much videos anymore. So it's like always me and Eric, always me and Eric. So then when he's not in the videos no more, the fans started literally unsubscribing, leaving. Like, what the fuck is this? Like, where's Eric? You know, they might like me, but they liked us together. And random comments like that. To this day, like they'll be like, "Where is he?" Like, you guys are not up to speed now, like by this, but like so many years later, like 5 years, 4 years later, catch up to what happened. But it was again a learning phase where I'm like, am I gonna stop this? I contemplated it for a while, like, should I stop this? Like, what am I gonna do? But I was like, no, I love this. I was already doing the majority of the work. So it wasn't a huge transition, but the expectations and the audience and everything was transitioned, right? The views and everything went down. So the money that was coming in, which wasn't much at all already, became literally some months it was nothing at all. It was extremely just frustrating, and having to like weigh the options. Like, do I have to get a real job? Like, what do I have to like? Obviously, do things the traditional way. I love doing this, and I was able to, make money from it. What am I gonna do now, right? I was always reselling on the side, like sneakers, video games, whatever I can to hustle, make money. But it was always some money coming in from the YouTube that was able to at least minimum just pay off the rent, pay off the rent. But there was some months where nothing would come in, and I would like break down, talk to my girl, like going crazy, like, this like zero, like a month where zero came in. I'm like, this is crazy. How the hell would we go from, some months, especially like peak months where Eric was around, like a couple $1,000s would come in on the YouTube channel. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. We can put this to the rent, to like a month where it was like, it felt like negative. It was like $5. I'm like, what is happening? But at times I would like hold it against him, like, damn, like he did this, like he doesn't know how this affects me, especially because I just had well, she just got pregnant, right? And I'm about to have a son. Like, this guy's doing this, you're fucking everything up, right? You're fucking everything up. And I knew that we had a great dynamic on camera. So I'm like, if we do this 20, 30 more years, the world's gonna love it, right? Because I already were loving it. But he just felt like he couldn't do both. Like he couldn't do both. I always argued, I'm like, you could do both, you could do both. But it was something where he had to find himself. And then with him finding himself, I found myself because I was able to lean into, you know, platforming others, playing with the show, um, really honing in on like the local news aspect of it, and also realizing other ways to make money, whether it's like marketing, right? The marketing aspect, getting sponsorship deals, getting actual, promotion deals on social media, because people would want me to maybe promote something for them. But then at the same time, aside from me being like this quote unquote influencer or personality for them, co-signing something, I'm able to provide them my equipment, my camera, my editing skills, high quality commercial now I'm producing for you. So thankfully I've been able to do that with like some of the biggest things in the state, like literally the lottery, the hospital, uh, Rhode Island Department of Education. We've done stuff with them. Like, it's just crazy. Like, a lot of dope moments that if I didn't go through frustrations with that, I would have never pivoted and seen like, how can I do this, or how can I maybe make money through this? Because at the time I was just gonna keep doing what we were already doing. Just content together as friends. Not as much local news, not as much local outreach or connection. Just topical, kind of becoming like talking heads, or like pop culture opinionators, for lack of a better term. But yeah, I was able to, go through that and now pivot to now what I've been able to do now, which has been almost like an iCarly show on the podcast, where it's almost like a reality show, not a reality show, late night show, Jimmy Fallon show, or something like that, where we do everything. It's a live stream show. We'll have local talent stop by, but I'm not guest reliant, because like you said off camera, you've dealt with it where people flake and all that stuff. I remember going through that. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing this. Like, this is like, I don't need this, especially because there's a lot of local in Rhode Island. I love this state. I think we have tremendous talent. I think it might be the best state because it's so much like cultures mixed. It's like a gumbo pot, but at the same time, it's also a lot of the worst mindsets here. There's a lot of entitlement. The small state mentality. They think since it's a small state, and you might be like a big fish in a small pond. Me with the podcast blowing up and etc. They see all these numbers. They think, oh, they're entitled to just be on the show. They're entitled to just no matter what, like me respond to them. It's just bizarre. A lot of bizarre just interactions and weird energy that I started realizing like, oh, I'm like, okay, yeah, we're not doing this because if you have on one rapper, all the rappers want to come on. If you have on one lawyer, all the lawyers want to come on. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing this, especially once you start realizing people are using you for promotion. So then that's why I started pivoting. I'm like, okay, if you are coming on here to promote your business, this is no longer free because you're benefiting from it. People saw your business on my platform that has all these viewers, etc. You're demanding social media clips like, "Oh, can you do this? Can you do this?" That takes time out of my day. All this editing that I do, I'm like, no, no, no. This is a business now. So then that's why I started pivoting more into the sponsorship aspect, which I already had. Thankfully, we've done things with Manscaped, Underdog, Fantasy. We've done stuff with the stereotypical podcast advertisers, but that was on a big national level. Sometimes they were unresponsive, people get fired, relationships will fall through. They weren't paying much. It was more like, hey, if you get people to download this, we'll pay you. So it was like conversion rate. It wasn't like payment up front all the time. So I'm like, okay, let's just connect both worlds. Locally, these people want to come on. Let's try to get some sponsorships. And we were able to do that to this day. Like we have a 1 year exclusive contract with Big Tony's Pizza, and they're the only pizza that we can promote. And that's structured that way because it helps him, it helps us. And to this day, like people love it. People go in and buy pizza. They have like the Club Ambition pizza deal where it's like $9.99 for like a large cheese pizza, and it's effective. People love it. People see it, and every time we work with people, they always say that like, oh, like there's a return on the investment. They're extremely satisfied. It's the most views they've ever gotten on anything on social media. It's the most interaction. They get approached in person, in public, or in the grocery store. I saw you in the I saw you in that podcast. So me seeing that also makes me want to keep it exclusive. I don't say yes to everybody. It has to make sense. It has to make sense. If someone hits me with a yo, it's like I'm not responding. It's like, brother, we need to have some level of professionalism, some thoroughness in your messaging, because if you're not taking yourself serious, why would I take you serious? And I feel like I look at that life that way, especially because I have kids. I have a fiance. I'm trying to build this family, trying to move out, trying to get a better car, trying to get a better house. I'm trying to level up in life. I don't have time to waste. My time is literally valuable, especially if I do all my editing myself, I do all my scheduling myself, email responses. It's just insane. So the workload is insane. So therefore, I realize like, you know, I'm prepared for it. Like I get stressed, but it's not as stressed as I used to get like back then. It's like a peaceful stress. Like I'm happy that I am stressed in a sense where I know that good things are coming. Good things are coming, and I'm also not relying upon like reaching out to people to work. Thankfully, it's just kind of me catching up to people, catching up to older emails, or reconnecting with other companies. Like Navigant Credit Union's been good. Um, you know, it's just been amazing to see this because you also realize, when things become more comfortable in a financial space, you're able to go harder creatively because you're no longer trying to seek like a bunch of views to just monetize the views. Now you're more like, hey, you know, this is good here. Just focus on the content, do some good shit, be yourself. It's gonna translate. You already have the audience. You're growing the audience more. Just fulfill that, and then become a vessel along that for any companies or brands that do want to work. And that's how I've been at it. I've been at it, and it's been going great. It's been going great. But I know, like, to this day, like, if I were to post like, "Hey, we're taking ads" or whatever, it would just be too overwhelming. Too overwhelming. And you'd be surprised, like, locally, a lot of people don't like investing in themselves, man. They don't like it. They don't know what it is to invest in themselves. They don't know what it is to actually write a proper email out, write a invoice, write a contract, write a proposal. They don't know what these things are. They don't know what these things are. And I think that the more people do that, the more success, whatever it may be to them, they'll see. Because even if things go bad, as long as I feel like you're professional about things, there's just another level to, like, for example, someone might reach out and it might not be the proper fit to come on the show, whatever. But if you're professional about it, it's like you start relationship building. Like, I'll see you out. Like, I'm like, we start talking. Like, I remember that message, we stay in touch because of just the level of professionalism that was given. But when people lack that, it just makes me like I don't, if I was single, no kids, etc., had more time on my hands, and maybe like I'll partake in more of just like the randomness of people. But right now, it's just I don't have time for it.
Yeah, and I think it makes a ton of sense, and I'm glad that you kind of went into this too. And I'm like trying to
Yeah,
be a sponge at the same
yeah,
time,
yeah.
like because sometimes I'll go back and forth and give my takes and stuff. But I just like I
Hmm.
find it so interesting to hear from your perspective of like how it's gone and seeing that transition of having someone to make content with to doing it solo. Because I've
Yeah,
always done it solo, and it is one of the hardest things to do. Is because especially me, like my whole content idea is based on talking to other people.
yeah,
Yes, like I have solo episodes. I don't like doing them because like I use them as like I'll do like a birthday reflection. So like I kind of reflect on like things that have happened in my life personally to give like anyone that tunes into for me specifically, a lot of my family to like give them what's going on from my point of view, or if something happens in my life. Like
yeah.
I did an episode where I lost my family dog like a few years ago, and like I had that dog for 14 years, like from when I was a kid, and like I
God
did a
damn.
whole episode about it and how like it like affected me, and like I'll do episodes like that, but similar to you, like Joe Rogan was a huge like inspiration to me growing up during like that 2019 era. I was more in like the DMT aliens, like those episodes
Yeah,
were the
yeah,
ones
yeah,
that were getting me going. And I was like, I wanted to do something like that, but different and like in my own way. Cause I didn't want to just copy paste it.
yeah, yeah.
So I kind of leaned into the mental health space, life stories, like just thinking about just like hanging out with a friend, but like making it meaningful because like there's so many podcasts people get on and they're just like talking about like stuff that's happening in like culture and like nonsense and just like
Hmm.
shit talking and like
Hmm.
a lot of the time they fail like because at the end of the day if you're not adding some type of value to the content and you're doing it for views, you're going to lose interest. Like I started this because I genuinely cared about like talking and with connecting with other people and like hearing them out. What's your why? How did you get into it? Because like I'm also trying to like be a sponge too for every guest because
Hmm.
everyone's providing value in a different way and helping someone. And I think we all can inspire other people just by sharing what we do,
100%.
especially when it's like something creative and like unique. And in such a small state, there's like a ton of people that do that stuff, but like getting them to commit to an episode and then like week of, hey, can you do the pod? You ready? Like confirming, and then they're not responding. And like, I mean, I've done this. This is year 7 of doing it. So like, I know when someone's about to like bail on me and what's gonna happen. And like, I don't take offense to it like I did when I was first starting out. When I first started out, I used to get pretty like pissed about it. Like, there was only one time where I was like, I made it was this kid from college that I was gonna have on, and we were pretty good friends, and was like leading me on. I set up all my stuff. Like obviously see my setup. Like I was at my parents' basement at the time, and like I have to like break stuff down and put stuff up, and like I'm doing all the editing, I'm doing all the setup, and like I'm hosting it too. So like getting ready, I'm like, hey, you coming? He's like, yeah, I'm gonna be a little late. And then just made this whole story about like his grandma falling, and then like he had to go fix his phone, and this like crazy stuff. Only time I ever made like a clapback episode of just like I'm not here to like waste people's time. Like I'm here to have like a genuine connection and like
Yeah, yeah.
I don't make money off this personally. Like this is just pure passion. This is just pure me enjoying
Hmm.
making content and sharing it for other people and their family and their friends and whatever audience supports their craft. And when you bail on me like that, like it's like you're taking away from like something that I can't replace. Like I can't just get on a camera and make something happen because like my show's geared towards an interview. So like
Mm,
getting people to like fill in those spots doesn't work like that. People have
mm,
lives and like I understand that. Like I live a real life. Like I consider what my fiance is doing or back then when I was living with my parents, or like my brother's doing, they want to use the space. Do they want to have people over? Like I made stuff happen to like have a podcast. And then when people waste the time, it's super frustrating. And like
mm,
hearing something like that too, when you're getting those levels where you're leveraging your views from going from talking about music and
mhm,
reacting to it to creating your podcast, and now people are trying to use you for those views to promote their stuff, like that can be super frustrating. And like
yeah, for sure.
I could totally see that of like people using you and your platform for themselves. And I know on some level there is like a kind of like that handshake that you're doing with content when you're like talking to people, but like you could feel the energy with someone when it's like they're there to like talk to you versus they're there to like get your clips and get on the podcast and just share their message versus really caring about who you are and what you're doing. And like you feel that pretty quickly. And luckily through me, I kind of have created a system where like I'm filtering through guests and like I get people on. But like I definitely relate sometimes to the music stuff, like where
Mhm,
you let one person on and then it's like I try to break it up where I don't want to have like 30 rappers in a row or 30 fitness people, or like used to interview like nurses and stuff. Like it would have like a ton of nurses all the time and like trying like my best to like find different people that do different things is probably the hardest part about doing it. But it's so rewarding to like have a conversation with someone and like actually like set aside time and we're not on our phones, we're not like doing stuff, we're being real people.
yeah,
And like I think with content right now where everything is just like let's share everything, let's post everything,
mhm,
like, and it's gotten to the point where I feel like it's oversaturated. We have so many people just talking about nothing
yeah,
instead of talking about stuff that matters to them, that matters to their culture, that matters to the local places or society, whatever they're in, and like not just getting to the point and just being themselves. And for me, like I'm happy just being me. Like I'm not trying to be someone I'm not. Like you see me on a podcast, you see me in real life. I'm just me. Like I'm not trying to be something that I'm not. And when I'm talking to you, I feel that energy and like I
mhm,
see the content and now I'm actually getting to like meet you in person
mhm,
and it's the same. It's the same dude. And like I
yeah,
love seeing that because like you could totally go the other way if you wanted to. You have every right to. Like you've done the work to be that way.
yeah,
But you still choose to be yourself. You still choose to give back to the community. And when you were talking about being at that water park and having that
mhm,
experience. How has that been? Like, obviously now, like you're doing the whole mayor debate this Sunday. This episode will be out Monday, so it'll be after.
yeah, yeah.
But is it somewhat overwhelming having to like manage all that? I know you're kind of talking about that, but I can only picture like the stress and frustration sometimes of dealing with stuff like that.
I mean, yeah, if it's, and especially locally, it's gotten crazier and crazier, to be honest with you, like, and I appreciate it, I think it's amazing, right? It's a blessing, but it still has a level of, like, unnaturalness to it, especially, like, when you're walking around, like, the grocery store or whatever, and people are, like, whispering, like, "It's a podcast guy?" Or it's like, "Didn't I it's like, is he from my whatever?" Like, I remember I was driving this morning, and it was, like, 2 girls screaming, like, "Wait, isn't he from my For You page?" And I'm like, "Oh, shit, okay." Like, it's like, no matter what, like, and I usually don't even put my window down, but I put my window down this morning. I'm like, "Let me put my window down." And then it was people saying that. So I'm like, it's amazing. Don't get me wrong. I don't take it for granted at all. But it gets definitely weird and awkward sometimes, especially when I'm out eating or if I'm with my kids out and stuff. So to be honest with you, it's made me go out less, way less. Like I don't go out much for that reason sometimes because it just gets overwhelming. It just gets overwhelming. Like I haven't been to the gym in a while, and I'm gonna sign up soon for like a private gym because even I can't work out. I'll go to the sauna, and people give me their whole life story, and then people like stop me, and I'm working out, and like they'll just keep talking to me, and I'm like, this has been 20 minutes talking so far. I haven't even stretched. I'm like, and I got kids at home. My time is valuable, so if it's crazy, but it's nothing necessarily to complain too much about either because you don't want to be ungrateful. But at the same time, again, when you look at it from that perspective where it's like just interrupting regular shit, like if you're trying to stretch, you can't even stretch and someone's just talking to you for so long. And I'm a nice guy, so I'm like I don't want to cut them off. And then my parents and my girl, everyone always say, "You're too nice. You gotta just ignore people or just cut people off or just say no or this and that." But I'm like, I'm grateful for them even giving a fuck about me, wanting to talk to me at all. So they want to share something with me. I'm all ears. But then that all ears is what gets me in trouble because I got shit to do. I lose track of my schedule. I lose track of my life. And it's like I'm running late to everything. I gotta cut. So that it affects a lot more than people would realize.
I think people need to know that too, though. Like when they're
Yeah,
getting in content space, like especially when your shit blows up, like
yeah.
your life changes. Like it's
Especially I feel
going to.
like because this is a small state,
Yeah.
so there's not as much like quote unquote celebrities or influencers that you know blow up or get a lot of attention online, and they're still here. Like a lot of them move to Florida, or they move out of state, or they live nearby. They live like in Massachusetts, but not really, let alone in Providence, like in the heart of Rhode Island. So them see me out and about in Providence, I think that's what like shocks them a lot of times. Like, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? I'm like, brother, I live in Olneyville. Like, what are you talking about? I live down the street. Like, what do you mean what I'm doing here? But they get caught off a guard all the time, and you know, it's cool, but it's definitely like a lot of just awkwardness and weird moments. Because even when I'm with my son, I'm like sometimes I don't mind saying hi to people at all, but then when it's like a over high, like if I got my son in one arm, he's falling, going crazy, and then you're trying to like over talk, I'm like, at least you should be like, hey, show him love, but let's let him do his thing with his son. But people don't care, bro. It's like, and it's again, it's probably because I don't care visually at the time, because I'm such a nice guy. I'm like, whatever, what's up, what's going on, and it's almost sometimes like my kids become celebrities. Like people see my kids out and about, and they'll go up to them as if they know them already. And I'm like, what is going on? Like my girl always talks about that. Like, what was these? This is so weird. People always want to like hug our kids or whatever, say hi to them. But and we don't even post them as much. So imagine if we post them a lot, like the content around them, like that's when it get even more weird and severe. Um, but most of it, 9.9 times out of 10 is always it's always love. 10 times out of 10 is always love. There's never been nothing negative. People be negative online, but never be negative in person. I've had people who talk shit online, but then in person they're like apologize or like never keep the same smoke or energy. Because at the same time, I don't do ill-intentioned content. I'm not bashing people. I'll make fun of like a famous artist or something, but you're not gonna hear me shit on somebody locally or nothing. I don't do that. I'll have an opinion that you might not agree with, but it's an opinion. I also don't like profit what's it called? I don't sell my opinion to people like you gotta do this or you gotta believe in this. I don't die on hills. Like I'm here to hear people out, whatever the case may be. Um, you know, I'm just being me. I'm not trying to be make you be like me at all. That's not what I'm trying to do. So when people get mad, I feel like they start realizing like, oh, especially when they see me in person, like, oh, this guy's he's a nice guy. Like, why would I be mad? And it's like, yeah, why would you be mad? Probably because you're dealing with some shit at home. You're dealing with some shit personally, but you take it out on strangers online. You interact with strangers online. You see a clip or two. You think you know their whole life off a clip or two. So again, going back to me being a consumer of content, I understand that. That's why I stopped like idealizing celebrities or whatever. We're all human. We're all natural. We're human. It's Mother Nature. We're all here together, a part of the same kind of like journey. We just have different paths and different missions, etc. That separates us. But a lot of people, especially again locally, we're in this literally a small state in America. Therefore, that's going to come with when people see anyone that has any popularity, again, starstruck or just like, I can't believe this is happening, or they get overly inspired to the point that sometimes they become haters. They want to just hate on shit. They'll leave a comment saying like some guy the other day was like, because I posted the event that I'm doing this weekend with the hospital, which is giving back to the community and stuff. And he's like, "See, I like this. You gotta do more stuff like this, and not the other stuff." Blah blah blah. And I'm like, "What's the other stuff? What are you referring to?" And he was DMing me like, "It's the clickbait stuff and this and that." I'm like, "What is clickbait? What am I clickbaiting? Because clickbaiting is technically lying. Like you just lie. What am I lying? What are you talking about?" He's like, "Oh, the news, the negative news." But that's news. Like I'm covering news. Like, so you want me to lie? So if a shooting happened in the neighborhood I currently live in or lived in or whatever, I'm not supposed to report on it. Like, I'm just reporting the news. Especially when you watch the way that I report, I never add fluff to it. I never like make fun of people in the situation. I'm always just neutral, sharing the news. Whereas a lot of other people are not that way at all. But then this guy's mad because I'm not doing content that he wants me to do. And then I'm also promoting an event. And I'm like, this is not even content. This is me promoting an event. This is content to you? Like, what are you talking about content? And also, do you watch the show? Like, you don't watch the show, because if you watch the show, you see how every week we address um every level of everything. We address mental health, whether it's through celebrities. We have people on in the community that make life changing impacts all the time. And we always plan on doing that. Just as like we schedule it months ahead of time. We literally changed lives. Like, we worked with the foster care system here in Rhode Island, and we got like 10 families reaching out to become adoption parents. That was like 2 months ago. Like, we're constantly doing so. I told him, like, what, you just ignorantly speaking, you know. But it gets more frustrating if it's a stranger I don't know, online, whatever. I could care less. But when it's like somebody locally, and I realize, oh, they live here, they're locally here, that's where for some reason it bothers me. That's the only time it bothers me, and that's where I'll respond and I'll clap back and I'll be like, because I'm gonna see you in person, so therefore I'm gonna correct you, because especially an insult is one thing, whatever. I don't like your hair, you're fat, whatever, okay. But when there's like a backhanded compliment, where it's like, see, you see, this is what you should be doing. That's where it bothers me even more. It's like, what do you mean by that? And now it's like a personal thing. Support this event, but you're not doing that. Now you're critiquing me and like me and looking at it overarching. That's not the case. Now, if I did that type of content, that would be one thing. Like if I'm exploiting somebody or exploiting things, or I'm like clickbaiting and rage baiting, that's not what I do. I'll have funny moments, because I like adding comedic entertainment aspects to things, but that's not what the content is, especially overall. We do a bit of everything. I've always been like all encompassing, and I embrace that, because you can't put me in a box. I don't like being put in a box. That's not who I am. You can't tell me necessarily what to do. I'm not going to do it. And especially if somebody's not an expert in their field, why would I take unwanted advice, unasked advice? I didn't ask for any advice. Why are you sharing your advice? I feel like a lot of times, realistically, that's insulting. People don't understand that. They think like it's like, oh, you should do more. Like sometimes people would tell me that, like, oh, you're good at what you do. I feel like you should do more, or you should do, etc. When I do so much already, sometimes I'm like, I feel like I want to tell them like, fuck you. Like, what do you mean I should do more? Like, what are you doing? Like, what are you extremely successful at? Like, if we're like, who are you to critique and judge me and come at me this way? Like, the backhanded compliments always, I hate it. I hate it. I remember I did like we spoke with students, and we did like a mini seminar, and I posted like a recap video of it. And then the one guy was trying to correct my grammar on one word that I said. And I'm like, fuck you. Like, what is this backhanded compliment shit? Like, you don't never show any love on anything, but you leave a backhanded compliment as a comment. It's like, I don't even want your support. I don't care. Because you're not really, really supporting. You're just trying to break something down, and it comes out of some sort of insecurity or something that you have, some jealous envy. Like, I can read through people really well. I feel like I'm a good judgment of character. And when people just behave that way, it just makes me just easily distance myself. I'm like, yeah, no, you don't see this through. Especially once I get so much love. Like, I'll have single mothers come up to me crying. Oh my God. And locally in Rhode Island, my son wants to be a YouTuber because of you. He wants to be a journalist because of you. He watches you. We appreciate what you do. Most people always, they thank me. Like, I thank you for what you do for the community. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And then you have someone with like a backhanded compliment, like, oh, you should be doing this more, etc. No, 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 no. I'm always gonna check it. And then people kind of feel like get shocked because he responded. So you think that you're same with me, because I've done it with like celebrities, right? Like, I had a recent interaction with Rick Ross where we were talking about Rick Ross and a post that he made. And I felt like he was trying to jump ahead of his album sales. Like, he was talking about album sales before his album even dropped. And he was talking about like, if the album basically sells low, like, it doesn't matter. I got paid. I'm a millionaire, whatever. And it's like, why would you do that? Because you know you're gonna sell low. And then once it started selling low, I was critiquing. I'm like, see, like you kind of spoken into existence. Like you're working against the energy. And then he was like sharing his opinion on it, and his team was like leaving comments, like saying like you guys don't know what you're talking about. Um, but it's just me critiquing that. And I'm not, if I'm something like, oh, what am I gonna be like? Oh, why would they respond to me? Oh my God, they're so stupid to respond. No, they have every right to respond. Same way if someone leaves a comment, locally or not, I'm gonna respond. It's okay. I also like to go to the DMs and like we'll have a conversation because especially the backhanded compliment stuff, I'm like, what is this? Like, is it another on a personal level? Well, especially if I see like a pattern, like someone just has like a weird remark, but they don't really show positive like love or like repost me, but they'll leave like a negative comment. I'm like, why are you even following me in the first place? Oh, it's because how people say like the stereotypical shit. Haters are fans is true. It's really true. People that hate because I don't really hate nobody. I used to hate like Little Yachty for some reason when I was like younger. I'm like, oh, I hate Little Yachty. But I'm a big Little Yachty fan now. So it's like I try to see it from their perspective a little bit, even though I really don't hate nobody. I'm not a hater per se, but I understand like from that source of hate comes love too. Especially once you hear it out, it's always like ignorant. Like they don't know what they're really talking about. Like that guy, he never watched a full podcast episode, so he doesn't know what he's talking about. He just saw one clip and felt like I should stop talking about shootings and start talking more about community events. I'm like, no, I do both. I do everything. If it's pertaining to Rhode Island, I'm gonna cover it. I cover the good, bad, and the ugly. That's what I do. I love doing that because I feel like our platform's so big that we need to do that. We need to show everybody everything. A lot of people move here from Boston and they're like, I get my news from you. I get everything from you. So I feel like that's also like a responsibility on me to highlight all of Rhode Island, every aspect that I can. Now, if I'm sugarcoating things, then that's me being fake. You're almost like filtering for what? For what? Like you have to be raw, you have to be honest, and that's what people have always loved. You know, even on a celebrity level. Like I remember Trippie Redd randomly DM'd us and then FaceTime called us. This rapper Trippie Redd because we were not liking an album of his, but he appreciated how we were being honest. Nicki Minaj like tweeted at me because I was being honest, like about a song years ago. You have to be honest. Like you have to show the if once you become too cookie cutter, that's that bullshit that people see through, and that's when I hate when people become almost like puppets. Like if you're just portraying something one way only, one way only, one way only, it's fake. If I was just always like positive and just happy, positive community guy, forcing it, that's not reality. People are gonna see through that shit. Now you're gonna satisfy some people, but reality, it's like that doesn't even fulfill me. That doesn't make me happy. I like doing everything. I like talking about a local rapper. I like talking about a local accident, and I also like talking about local athletes, spotlighting a local athlete, upcoming athlete, connecting with the hospital, doing things with the hospital, foster care. We also like working with official organizations rather than just some random opinion. We get it from the source. We'll have doctors on. So, yeah, if people don't get the bigger picture, it's fine. I get the bigger picture, and I think that's all that really matters. Like if you understand what you're doing, and you're getting support, and people are showing love, and I feel like I have a purpose here in the state. Like I always say, like I'm never leaving. Like I love it here, and you know, people can give as many backhanded compliments as they want. It's not gonna push me to get out of here because at the same time, when you think about it, it's a backhanded compliment, but there's still love in there. They like something. Oh, I like what you do. This, blah blah blah. If I check them out, they ain't doing shit. They're not doing nothing. What have you done for the like? They're not doing nothing for the community. Nowhere near to the level of the things that we've done in the past couple years. And I feel like we're just getting started. It's been like 1% of where this could be. Therefore, you know, no, it's just it's a fun thing. I'll say that. There's a lot of fun moments
It's a
that
journey for sure. And like I
yeah.
think where you're at too, like you see the vision and like
Yeah.
and I want people to know like you're a real person. Like you have real family responsibilities. You have a real business. Like
Oh yeah.
just because like you post stuff online and you have a platform like doesn't take away from you as a human.
Mhm.
And I think so many issues with social media creates this like weird relationship, like we know these people when we
100%.
don't
When you
know
don't,
these
they
people,
don't.
and we don't know what they're like, we don't know what they think, like we don't know their opinions, we only know what they choose to share. It's a
Exactly.
highlight reel. And I appreciate you just like being you. Like you're saying, like you are not just going to only talk about the positive stuff. If you have an opinion on something,
Yeah.
you're going to share it. That's like part of your content. That's part of the news. That's part
Yeah.
of like reacting to something. Like if you're just saying everything's good, like people are like, all right, this guy's phony. He's not fucking being
100%.
honest. Like if you're not
100%.
being honest about the stuff, then like why are people going to even watch?
Mhm.
But Victor, we are getting at the end of the podcast,
Mhm.
and I don't want to waste like your time because I know you got a lot of stuff on your plate right now,
Mhm.
and like I think we've covered a ton of stuff, and this has been super amazing for me to just be here and listen to you and kind of just like
I appreciate you.
absorb kind of the mindset that you have with your business, with the podcast, with your
Mhm.
family. Like I appreciate that as just a host and just being able to kind of like hear that perspective as someone that's in the space and like trying to still make his way and figure out this content space in my own way. And like hearing how you've done it definitely has opened my eyes into different avenues that I could definitely take with this stuff. So I really appreciate you.
No
I
problem
do
at all.
have one more question for you. And that question is, what would your advice be for someone who wants to pursue their passion?
My advice would be for somebody that wants to pursue their passion. I really am really like heavy on the regional aspect. Like whatever you're doing, it could be literally anything. And this is advice to you too. Like definitely take this, brother. Like when you're doing something, I think that even as especially in a starter phase, to try to get some sort of recognition, I always would tell people embrace the idea of just where you're from regionally, right? Let's say you're from freaking, Wyoming, any town in any country. Let's say Tabletown, Kansas City. If there's a town in Kansas City, Tabletown, Kansas City, whatever the case may be, just embracing that and everything that you do. Meaning, for example, like I meet random kids who like come through the studio, like if they'll DM me again professionally, like, oh hey, I want to be a YouTuber, whatever. I want some advice, or whatever. I'll have them like pop in. You guys want to pop in right before we record? They sit down with me, get some like advice. Like it's happened multiple times, and I'll tell them, right. And also whenever if I do speak at schools or like teach any class or whatever, like we did like a Boys and Girls Club podcast program over the summer, so we were able to teach like podcasting to some kids at Pawtucket. So the advice I would tell them is like, hey, and anything that you're doing, the barber was a good example. There's a lot of young barbers. I'll be like, hey, just embrace where you're from. So when you're posting something, when you're doing something, especially on social media, just adding where you're from to it helps more than people realize. Like just the idea of posting, like, hey, I'm a Rhode Island barber looking for some clients here in Rhode Island, here in Providence, whatever. Post that online. That's gonna get way more traction, way more attention than you would realize. Some people don't embrace that because they feel like, no, that's not, I'm not proud to be from here. Or why would I share from where I'm from here? Like, I'm just put the content out or etc. But when you put the content out, whatever, you just become a part of the content that already exists. There's so many other people doing it. But when you embrace and add some sort of tag to it that gives a bit of you, which is the state that you're from, you start giving people a bit of you. They start recognizing, like, oh, this is okay, Rhode Island. And then automatically you get thrown into the algorithms of the people that you probably might bump into at the grocery store because it's your hometown, home state. Because you put that in your content, whatever you're promoting, and you pop up in the Rhode Island algorithm or the Tabletown, Kansas City algorithm, whatever the case may be. And I'm telling you, it works. It works. People just need to really embrace that, just that idea of, and I see it happen. Like a lot, I know a lot of local barbers blow up. The young kids that cut hair, they'll be like cutting someone's hair, and they'll be like, it's like a trend, and it works. They'll be like, hey, I heard you went. What school you from, man? Did you go to Cranston East? He's like, no, I'm from Classical High School, Broad Street, whatever. While they're cutting their hair, they're like, oh man, oh really? And they do that type of content all the time. And it shows you the idea of a regional like push. Even with the biggest levels of like hometown hero stories, it works in sports. Obviously, when people are like, LeBron's from Akron, Ohio, people want to see him go back to Cleveland, play over there in Ohio. You know, rappers, artists, when they come up, Drake to this day, he's made like the six in Toronto, like this global thing. But he was saying this back then when I didn't know what the six was. People were like, six is like a number, but it's actually representing his hometown. A lot of rappers do this. Chicago, any facet of hip hop, it happens a lot where they'll embrace just who they are by just telling you who they are, telling you where their hometown is, shouting out their hometown. I think people should do that more in everything that they do, especially if they want to go into like the social media lane. You could be a nurse from Rhode Island, you know, make a TikTok account. Hey, I'm a nurse from Rhode Island. Here's my lunch. Here's my experience. That is gonna blow up more than people realize. You're gonna get traction. You're gonna get a lot of attention. You're gonna build a community. And why not want to build a community with the people around you? You live in this state. Why not embrace this state? Because again, you're gonna be able to see these people out and about. They might be somebody you went to school with. They might be your friends from elementary. They might be your dad's cousin on some random shit you never know, but it's tied into where you're from and honing into that. So that's some advice I always give people because that was always going to be effective. Even you, like, you've done so many podcast episodes. If I'm you, I'll post up old clips of like when you had nurses on. It could be Rhode Island nurse opens up about dealing with her brother or dealing with her childhood trauma. You know, it's simple. You don't even have to really add captions. You just put it into the video and you revitalize something that you already have, but you reach the audience more, and you get more into the algorithms. And it's not for the money, it's not for the views, but it's really more to just a way to polish off what you're doing and pat yourself on the back and be proud of what you're doing, because you gotta really, as simple as it may seem, just give people what it is. Like, you are a mental health podcaster here in Rhode Island, and you have a lot of people come on that are from here in Rhode Island. So if you put a clip up that says, hey, again, nurse from Rhode Island is talks about the time her boyfriend broke up with her, that automatically gets thrown in people's algorithms, and it's like, and it helps you realistically just look back at it, because it's going to be a part of the video visually, like visually putting it in textual format. And nowadays, like, hashtags and stuff, they'll work, but the search engines are the social media apps. You'll search up, like tomorrow you could post up a video, hey, reminder, I dropped this book, everybody go purchase it. I'm from Rhode Island, and this is a book I created. Here's some steps. Maybe this is the steps that I took to drop it on, Amazon myself. If anybody in Rhode Island, wants to learn how to do this, stay tuned for some more clips. Simple, couple of seconds of your day, but then you start getting a lot of just traction because, again, small state, but with that comes a lot of curiosity. So therefore, the regional approach and the regional aspect, I think people right now should hone in on more than ever, because it's effective and it works, and people, just love to see it. And at the same time, again, going back to the search engine, you put up a video saying, like, I wrote this book, The 5 Pillars to Create a Meaningful Life. And you didn't even got to necessarily put it in the caption. By you putting it textually in the video, you become a part of the search engine. When people search TikTok, they might search 5 pillars. Your book will come up because it's in the video, not necessarily because it's in the caption, because it's in the video visually. That's how social media works, and a lot of people don't know that. Because try it out, search something, search up anything, table town, Kansas City, see if it pops up. I made it up, but see if it pops up. Search random things, and a lot of times things will be in the video, but not in the text or in the caption, just in the video itself, like showing it. So it kind of cross reads. I'm pretty sure it's probably AI at this point that does it for them, for these social media apps. But that's why I would tell people, and it would be with anything. I think that social media definitely is a gift and a curse, but there's community in there that could be built, especially if you are seeking it. Therefore, you know, not to keep saying the nurse example, but I think it's a great example. Nurse TikTok's big. It's a lot of big nurse, a lot of nurses locally in Rhode Island. That's something that I've seen a lot of them do, especially because they give information to people. They're realizing things, finding things out. Shout out to my boy Chris Castle. He's been doing a great, like, just content posting about that. So that's why I would tell people, definitely, if they want to. Now, obviously, social media is not for everybody, so it is what it is. But I would definitely recommend doing that. Even if you want to turn the comments off, if you don't want to fucking like build like necessarily get others people's opinion, that's fine. But as long as you maybe look at it as like an exercise for yourself, kind of embracing who you are on a different level. Like you're from here, you live here. Let people know that. Like a guy that's boxing the other day came up to me like, "Yo, man, what's some advice?" I'm like, post that you are a young up and coming boxer in Providence, Rhode Island, training in a Providence gym. Post that, put that out there online, put it in the video, write that in the video, do videos like that, because then I probably would have known about you. Because you never know who's watching. People think it's just based off followers and really views. They're not telling us the truth. A lot of stuff is really impressions. You'll watch something and it might count for just an impression rather than a view on someone's thing. And like you said, you see a lot of stuff that you might not even leave a comment on. That's the majority of people. They don't comment on something, they might not share something, but they see it. And you never know who's watching. So don't be scared of like the views or whatever. Obviously, if it's like 2 views, that's different. But if you're getting like, a couple dozen, a couple hundred, that's you just keep going. Because at this point, actually, it's really impossible to get 2 or 3 views, 4 views. This is impossible. Because even if you watch it yourself a couple times, you're gonna get 15 views in a night. But that's something I would recommend to people. You know, obviously it's pertaining more to social media, but I feel like it can apply to anybody in any aspect. Because again, at least if you want to look at it for community building, I think it's a way to go. It's a beautiful thing to do.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant advice, and leaning into the community and local and stuff around you. That's the stuff that you can truly
Yeah,
impact. It's the easiest thing. It's right around you. Like
right
it's
around
there's so
you.
many people there, and I think that's a perfect place to wrap up this podcast. And
Yes, sir.
Victor, I appreciate you coming on this podcast and giving me some of your time. Like you really don't know how much like it actually means to have someone on your level with the podcasting experience that you have to come do this and share some of your wisdom with me and my audience. So I really do appreciate
No
that.
problem at all, brother. I appreciate you even inviting me.
If you want to look at this camera, let the people know where they can find you.
Yeah, find me on my personal social media handles. It's a vibe on Instagram, Twitter, but find everything on clubambition.net. We just did a website and we're launching it basically soon, but it's public now. You can visit it right now, clubambition.net, and you'll get everything on there. We worked hard on that website, so go check it out.
Perfect. And for you guys like the podcast, please rate, review, subscribe, share with your friends, share with your family, share with your grandma. Check it out, thecarrollconnection.simplecast.com. Also available Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all the major listening platforms. If you want to be a guest or return as a guest, hit me up on Instagram at Jared M. Carroll or at The Carroll Connection, and we'll set that up. And as always, plug in the 5 pillars of creating meaningful life. Buy the book, read it, submit the review on Amazon. It goes a long way in the algorithm. So
Yes,
until
sir.
next time, guys. Peace.
Appreciate you, brother.